to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this area, the Snohomish people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribe. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered, and taken care of these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people, stories, and voices to form a more just and equitable society. So, and before we move on to the approval of the agenda, I just wanted to make a note that President Krebs is momentarily absent while he helps his wife out with a little car malfunction and intends to be back here and rejoin us shortly. But until then, we'll continue on. The next item on our agenda is approval. Could I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
I second.
And do we have approval? Or all those in favor?
Aye.
And then superintendent's report, please.
Yeah, I'd like to share that I meet each month with two delightful community members who share my vision and my passion about trying to develop a district that is fiscally stable. And in addition to that, has improved academic outcomes for all students. During our most recent meeting, I shared the good news about our budget, that if everything goes our way, we're looking at having a positive ending fund balance approaching $5 million at the end of this year. When we started the year, we had an ending fund balance of actually less than 1%. So it's incredibly positive news based upon a lot of really difficult decisions that were made about things that we couldn't approve simply because we lacked the resources and we needed to rebuild the ending fund balance that had been decimated over the last several years. So many tough decisions were made, and this prompted one of my guests to say, are you worried that with an ending fund balance, some might suggest that we don't need any school consolidation or closure? And I explained that there's a world of difference between projected ending fund balance and an actual ending fund balance. And in addition to that, spending one-time resources for ongoing expenditures is an example of professional malpractice, in my opinion. It's exactly one of the things that got us into this mess. And after my meeting with my two friends, I thought deeply about the conversation, and I thought, what does that really mean about me, and how can that guide my practice as your superintendent? And I thought of that famous quote by George Santayana, who said, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." Well, I want you to know that I remember the mistakes that were made here. I remember that school closure wasn't done 10 years ago when it should have been done. I remember when we spent one-time resources on ongoing operations that got us, as the only district in the history of the state, to have a special administrator assigned and enhanced oversight in our district. I can't just be a placeholder as your superintendent. I'm not interested in warming the seat until the next person is here. I want to build teams that solve problems, not perpetuate those problems. So this is really one of those moments that caused me to think deeply about what I'm all about and how I'm going to function for the duration of my time. And I want you to know I'm a little bit burdened by my dreams about what we could be as a district. And we could be so much more than we currently are. And I dream of the days when our students and teachers have the very best materials in their hands. I dream of the day when our kids go to schools that are the equivalent of the schools in surrounding neighborhoods. I dream of the day when we have seed money to start innovative practices that capture the imagination and enthusiasm of our children. And on a very personal note, I dream of the day when no superintendent will ever be asked what I was asked to do this year. I was asked to send a truck to a neighboring school district to pick up used books and materials that were going to be thrown away. And I was asked to bring those back and put in the hands of our children. This is too important for our children, and they deserve better. And I hope that you will dream with me about what we could become, and don't accept compromises on this. The stakes are simply too high.
Thank you very much, Dr. Burgess. We are moving on to communications and reports. And we are starting with staff, student, and community recognition, beginning with student recognitions. And from the Student Leadership Summit and Plan Implementation, Marysville Middle School, introduced by Vonnie Walker, Executive Director of Secondary Education, and presented by Amy Verelling Grubbs, Principal, and Teacher Teresa Kingma, and students.
Thank you. And I'm really just up here to thank allowing us to bring our kids to you. It's so exciting for them to get to share all the work that they do. Is this cutting in and out? Are we okay? Okay. So with no further ado, I'm going to ask Miss Amy Verellen Grubbs to come up here and introduce her group of students and amazing teacher.
Good evening, Board, Dr. Burgess, and Marysville community. My name is Amy Burrell Grubbs. I'm the principal at Marysville Middle School, and I am really honored tonight to share with you some work that we started at Marysville Middle School last spring in order to increase student voice and choice. And so at this time, I'd like Teresa Kingma and 3 of our leadership students to come up and introduce themselves.
Thank you so much for having us today. One of our presenters is ill, so our ASB president stepped up. So we have Caleb Martinez, we have Faye Maynard, and we have Layla Yaden. So we did have a big workshop last spring, and they're going to talk a little bit about that, the results that we had, and then what we have done in response to those suggestions. So Miss Faye. There, thank you.
MMS MSD School Board Presentation Data. AWSL Student Summit at Marysville Middle School, March 27th, 2024. MMS Vibe Check. MMS shows kindness.
This is our agenda. We will start with the AWSL Listening Summit. Then we will go to the Vibe of MMS, and we'll just sort of go from there. We'll go from create positive, respectful, caring relationships between students and teachers, improving the feeling of safety and kindness, increasing positive, engaging activities, events, and celebrations, create decompressing zones and for students, and then improve teacher management of disruptive students.
AWSL Student Listening Summit workshop brought together a diverse group of MMS students to have a facilitated workshop to determine a list of priorities to improve the school culture and sense of belonging. James Lehman, AWSL president, led the facilitation in the MMS school library. Through a series of small group exercises and discussions, the following was extracted from the experience.
Here is a photo of MMS students meeting in the library during the workshop. Also included is a photo of one of the the workshop documents. These are the compelling issues from the AWSL Student Summit. Improving the vibe of MMS was to create positive, respectful, caring relationships between the students and the teachers, improving the feelings of safety and kindness, increasing positive, engaging activities, events, and celebrations of students, creating decompressing zones, improving teacher management of disruptive students, and then improving the teacher and instruction at MMS was mostly focused on positive and respectful classroom management, more engaging lessons, better curriculums, checking for understanding and helping struggling students, having more hands-on activities, and kind of having more group projects.
Improve the vibe of MMS. Create positive, respectful, caring relationships between students and teachers. Improve the feelings of safety and kindness. MMS shows kindness in many ways. ASB students volunteer every day to tour new students, give them welcome gift bags, and give them a warm welcome with the help of the counselor and office staff. The teacher assistants sign up to help a teacher they want to help and make their job a whole lot easier. Everyone loves helping each other out at MMS. MMS is a place where people can get along by showing kindness to one another and working together on tasks. All of our students love participating in assemblies and talking to the staff. MMS is also a very friendly community and can make lots of people feel welcomed and have a chance to make a bunch of awesome and new friends. We have a lot of fun activities we offer here at MMS. Fun after-school clubs where everyone meets up and has a good time. We have a jazz band, drumline, homework club, chess club, and video games club, screen printing club, independent book club, GSA, and D&D club. Soon we will be adding a fiber arts club where people can learn how to crochet, etc., and the MMS play club that will prepare for a spring performance. We also have cool electives like yearbook, graphic design, photography, student production, 3D printing and designing, STEM foods, band, creative writing, student success, drama, and art classes. And project management / leadership class, where students will help make the school awesome and friendly by working together in groups and decorating the school in colorful posters. We have amazing assemblies where we invite speakers and do fun activities like poking a whipped cream pie in a teacher's face and sliming a teacher and students versus staff games. The best activity everyone loves is Star Day. We go on field trips and do a bunch of other activities and make new friends. We hold a free hot cocoa day during lunches. We held a fun, spooky social gathering for face painting and basketball. We hold skate nights. We held a movie event and showed Home Alone this winter. We have a money system called swag tickets that we can use to buy stuff at the swag shop like candy and toys. We can also use it for assemblies to slime a teacher or pie a teacher in the face. We earn these swag tickets by being kind and helping to others or showing good behavior.
Many classrooms have common zones, and there is a Zen den in the office where students can go chill and relax for a short time. We improve the vibe of MMS, improving teacher management and disruptive students. We do group activities in classes and have fun with administration, and MMS teachers greet us at every door, every class.
Thank you. The MMS community thanks you for inviting us here tonight, and whatever decision you make, we hope to emphasize our school's wonderful people and community, and we don't want to lose it. Thank you.
Do you have certificates? Oh, wonderful. Do you want the kids to come up and get their certificates? That would be awesome. And thank you so much for the fantastic presentation. I loved hearing about the pie in the face. It feels like a classic. Yeah. The send in. I'd like to send in.
Sure.
I know, right?
Come around and get to be on cool stuff. I'm just here. I'm the driver. Hi. Hello.
Yeah, we'll have families come up too. Families are here.
So next, I'd like to invite the Seroptimists to come up and present the Seroptimist December Students of the Month, and that will be presented by Denise Rocket from the Seroptimists. And our December recipients are Mackenzie Collins and Jaden Getz of Pilchuck High School, or Marysville Pilchuck.
Hi, good evening. My name is Denise Rocket, and I just wanted to introduce our Seroptimus International Marysville group. Marysville International is a organization of over 70,000 women in 130 countries worldwide. So we are very well represented, and we have about 50 members locally here in Marysville. And one of the things that we like to do is we like to uplift women and other people in our community and organizations. So I'm proud to introduce today the December Students of the Month. Mackenzie, if you want to come up first. Mackenzie, if you're here. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Mackenzie. She's a lovely young lady from Marysville Pilchuck, and she is involved in lifeguard training, and she teaches swimming lessons. She has a passion for education. She has been involved in the band and as a drum major and helping in that particular group. She's also the senior class president, and she also has a unique club that she started, and that is the ASL, and she is the president of the ASL program. And so on top of all of the busy things she does, she also volunteers in our community. And do you want to tell us about some of the things that you volunteer?
I have volunteered at a couple different events, including middle school track meets, as well as the Special Olympic track meets. And this year I started volunteering in our Toys for Tots program.
Can you tell us a little bit about what your plans are for after graduation?
After graduation, I plan to go to college and receive a degree in education. Specifically, I want to work with kids preschool to first grade age.
That's fantastic. And brought here with you today to help you celebrate.
Today I have both my parents, mom and dad are back there, and I have my grandparents here with me as well.
Congratulations, and we're wishing you all the best in your certificate. Congratulations. And next we have Jaden. Jaden. Hi, Jaden. Okay, so Jaden is a hands-on guy. He likes to work with dirt bikes, and he's very handy with tools, and that's just a real passion of his. He's also from Marysville, Pilchuck. He is involved in a wrestling team, football, and he likes working with kids. And he's also done a lot of volunteer work within the food bank and ministry at his church. Do you want to tell us a little bit about one of your favorite volunteer opportunities in our community?
Yeah, so on Saturday mornings, my dad would wake up, we would go pick up food from all the stores like Albertsons, Safeway, bring it back to the food bank, help lay it out, and we'd make boxes, hand out to people who need.
That's amazing. Thank you for doing that. And what are your plans for after school and for your future?
After school, I got some connections. I get an internship with working on motorcycles. Pretty excited about that. And then I might, if I consider go college, get a teacher's degree, come back, teach probably middle school, and then help coach wrestling.
That's awesome.
And who have you brought with you tonight to help you celebrate?
I brought my mom and my dad.
Okay, well, here's your certificate and congratulations for wishing you all the best. And
Thank you so much. We also have January Students of the Month, and that's presented by Shannon Murphy from the Seroptimus. And our January recipients are Adina Paquette and Gabriel Bolar from Legacy High School.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Shannon Murray from the Marysville Seroptimus International, and I am the chairman of the Student of the Month Committee as well as the club secretary. I'm so honored to introduce our Students of the Month for January from Legacy High School. And first, I'd like to ask up Adina Paquette. Adina is an excellent student. She has a 3.9 GPA, and she's been involved in several challenging classes, and she was even chosen as Student of the Month in chemistry. So she has the strong academic background, but we were also struck with her dedication to her family and her community. She works at babysitting and also some elder care support within her family and the community. And also during COVID, she volunteered for the Marysville Food Bank and raised over 200 pounds of food for them. Pretty cool. And she's also was her sophomore class president. She's making her mark in the ASB as treasurer, vice president, and she's currently the historian and social media coordinator for the ASB. So quite an amazing young lady. She also is interested in film and the arts. And I wanted to ask her about a project she did. She wrote a musical, and I'm going to ask her to tell about it because it was really amazing.
Yeah, so I wrote a 10-minute musical about the 21st president, Chester Arthur. And it was kind of a passion project for me and within the family, because after watching Hamilton, we were like, let's choose someone not a lot of people know about, and let's just do this for fun. And yeah, so I hold that really close to my heart because yeah, it was just fun to work on.
And Adina is going to carry on her education in film and education with, she's been accepted to the Western Washington University Honors College in the fall of 2025. So I'm going to have her tell a little bit about her plans for the future.
Yeah, so in the fall, obviously I'll be going up to Bellingham at the Honors College, and I'm going in undecided on my major just to keep my options open, but I do have a strong passion for education and film, so I'm thinking I might become a high school teacher and maybe English or film. Yeah, we'll see. So yeah, thank you.
Well,
And did you bring someone with you you'd like to tell us?
I brought my mom and dad, Amy and Dan Paquette, and also two teachers from Legacy High School and some teachers from Kellogg Marsh Elementary. So yeah.
No fan club. And next, I'd like to call up our other Legacy High School Student of the Month, Gabriel Bowler. Gabriel is also an excellent student at Legacy High School. He has extensive computer skills and an interest in math. He has been through the EverFi Data Science Foundations program. And he's also, what struck us about Gabriel was his leadership for the special programs that he's been involved in. And I'm going to have him tell a little bit about that because a couple of the other nominees for Student of the Month mentioned Gabriel specifically as having helped them tremendously in their coursework in teaching and testing and things like that. So I'm going to have Gabriel talk about his favorite parts of that.
I helped my girlfriend, Layla, who was one of the other nominees, and Chris improve their grades and through testing and stuff. And I also go through Snow Owl, and because I have the high grade in the class and I'm already done with everything, they allowed me to help the welding class set up their tests and things like that. And I'm also the class representative over there in Snow Owl.
Excellent. And Gabriel also has some plans for the future. And I'd like him to tell just a little bit about what he might do after he graduates from high school.
I'm planning to go to college for engineering of some sort. I would like to actually get into something to do with nuclear engineering for nuclear power plants and all that. But I'm just applying right now.
Excellent. We can use a leader in those positions. And I think Gabriel's the one to do that. Did you bring someone you'd like to introduce?
My girlfriend.
So thank you so much for letting me do this. It's such an honor to recognize these students and honor them with a certificate of the month. I love it. Our committee judges the students not only on their academics, but leadership and their community service and dedication to their work. It's so inspiring to meet with them every month and get to introduce them. And on behalf of our Seroptimus Club, I wanted to say thank you to the families and the teachers and the schools who help support these students and the amazing work they're doing. And for Mackenzie, Jaden, Adina, and Gabriel, your work is appreciated and you're already making our community a better place.
Thank you so much to the Seroptimus for recognizing some of our outstanding students. And I know we'd like to invite them to come up front with their plaques and their parents or whoever else is here with them tonight and have a picture.
Made this aerobics now with the board members. Jumping around, kind of like
All right, same thing. Here we go. Don't move though, it's two cameras. You. You're welcome.
I'm good. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Recognition now.
Alrighty. We're going to move into staff recognition. This is presented by Jody Ryan.
Thank you, President Krebs. Good evening, everyone. One of my favorite evenings. This is one of my favorite evenings. What I'm trying to say is this is one of my favorite times of the evening, and also to say congratulations to our students. So we have 7 amazing staff to recognize tonight for exhibiting quality service standards in the Marysville School District and in our schools. And I'm going to start off with one of our very own here at the Service Center, Erica Robinson. Would you come up, please? So I want to say a few words about Erica. We are so proud of her. She's just finished her first year here at the Service Center, and she is the front line person. She takes the phone calls. She greets all of our guests and visitors. She does it with professionalism, courtesy, respect, and you build relationships. And we are so proud of you. And I'm getting emotional. She's part of my team, but what I want to say is that Erica helps everyone in this building. She really serves everyone in this building every single day. So thank you so much for your commitment, your dedication, your hard work. We love you. Okay, now I'll get myself back together. So I would like to call up Principal Jeff Ingram from Grove Elementary School. You want to call your folks up?
Yes.
Okay, I'll step through your way. You got it.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeff Ingram. I'm the principal at Grove Elementary School, and it is my pleasure to recognize tonight 4 very outstanding elementary school staff members. Could I just have you guys come on forward? We have Betsy Beck, Jessica Johnson, Kristen Burke, and Kristen Ebright. All 4 of you, come on up. We'll just have you guys line right here. That work? So I want to take just a minute to talk about each one of them. We're going to start with Betsy here. Betsy has been at Grove for many years. Excuse me, I got to put my glasses on. Many years and wears many hats, as we know. She watches over students as they come and go from school as a safety patrol para. She's also leads students in our lab and special ed as a para in those areas. And she also makes sure that fun is being done very safely during our recess time as a recess supervisor. So you can see she wears all those many hats. I think what's really cool though is recently we did a social emotional learning survey with our students, and we asked those students to name a trusting staff member, and Betsy received many nominations from students. She's described by our staff as being respectful, kind-hearted, great at building relationships, a good listener, a problem solver, appreciative, and fun-loving. So this one's for you, Miss Betsy Beck. Congratulations. Next up, we have the mighty Jessica Johnson. Jessica wears also many hats at Grove as a paraprofessional, but what she's known best for is her leadership as a lunchroom supervisor and before and after school safety monitor. During those times, you can always see Mrs. Johnson going above and beyond to help kids in any way possible. She is often heard on the microphone during lunches, recognizing students for all the positive things that they do in the lunchroom. As our safety monitor, she leads our patrol students in making sure our students, staff, and families are safely moving around our parking lots and getting on and off buses. Her patrol students absolutely love her, and especially when she rewards them with really cool, fun prizes and parties that they get to go to after school. She's described by our staff as being supportive, positive, above and beyond, great with kids, and focused on the safety of our school, all with a constant smile on her face, and that is definitely Ms. Jessica Johnson. Congratulations. Got to go in order here. Okay, next is first grade teacher, Kristen Berg. Kristen has taken on many roles this year as well. Specifically, she has served as a lead on our student support team, is a mentor for new teachers in our building, has been leading staff in professional development on our letters training, and is described by staff as being positive, resourceful, hardworking, and has incredible perspective. She does everything with a what's best for kids mentality and demonstrates that mindset on a daily basis, not only within her classroom, with every student and staff member that comes across her. Congratulations, Kristen. And our other Kristen, we have several Kristens in our building. So this is Kristen Ebright, and she is also a first grade teacher and an outstanding veteran leader among our staff. And especially on her first grade team. She has proven also to be a instructional leader this year, along with Kristen for the letters training. In fact, our staff have kindly named them Team K2 because of the Kristen thing. So K2 leads us well, a lot of our Fridays in that professional development. She is also known as an expert interventionist around our school and applies those skills to our student support team on a weekly basis. She is described by staff as being thoughtful, caring, hardworking, and definitely focused on kids. And that definitely describes you, Kristen. Thank you for all you do. And this is Team Grove, our 4 outstanding teachers. Let's give them another round of applause. Don't run it. I knew that photo was coming, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, you can wear.
Where would you like to speak?
We're gonna do one all together when we're done. We have 2 more to go. Okay, it'll be just a moment. Okay, next, we are going to recognize some staff from Totem Middle School. So I'd like to start by calling up Miss Lisa Radford, the principal. And then following Lisa, we will have Mr. Jason Hippie, the assistant.
Thank you. One, thank you for this wonderful opportunity and quite a challenge to choose 2 out of so many amazing staff members at Totem. But we were able to narrow it down randomly by 2 with the help of our leadership team. This evening, I would like to honor Cheryl LeBrum, who is our kitchen manager. She's not able to attend tonight here physically, but she is online. So Cheryl, this is for you. She will be entering her 30th year in February at Totem as our kitchen manager. She is the glue that holds our kids together. If you've ever met a hangry middle schooler, we avoid that because of her. She does the magic. She listens to what our kids want to eat. She produces a menu that they want. She serves them. She is accommodating to every need that we have. So Cheryl, thank you for your service, for your dedication, and for your joy that you bring us.
Hello, everybody, and community. My name is Jason Hippie, and I'm the assistant principal at Totem. And when this name came across who we narrowed down, I called dibs on him. This guy, I met him a couple years ago when his first year was in at Totem. And I'm actually gonna, as I'm speaking, Mike, why don't you come on up here too, Mike? Mike Sandberg is such a unique character because when I first met him, he was bruised from playing hockey like the weekend before, and I'm like, this guy is not your traditional teacher, and kids really picked up on that and love it. And so throughout the years that we've known Mike, Mike has taken on multiple challenges. He's taken on many CTE courses, and this last year specifically, he I think was voluntold or volunteered, I don't know which one, to do leadership and project development at Totem. And so I was in his classroom 2 weeks ago, and he had 16 students working on 9 different projects simultaneously. He made it look easy, like kids were engaged and they were rocking and rolling. And Mike really does engage students well, and he just exemplifies what we value at Totem with student engagement with high expectations. So please give a round of applause for Mike Sandberg there. You have to look for him.
That's us, guys.
Okay.
No, you
All right. Okay. Mr. Hippie, open your eyes. Okay.
I don't think I ever really experienced the breadth of what it means to be a para, especially at a elementary and middle school, until I got called up to go to Pinewood Elementary and render my services for recess and for lunch, and that's all I did. And that day I went home and immediately took a nap, and my going speculation is the following day is when the first white hair started to appear on my eyebrow. So thanks for that. It was a lot. And so really appreciate the fact that we get to recognize those teachers and staff members in this way. With that, we're gonna go ahead and go to staff, student, and board reports, and we're gonna go to the cabinet updates presented by the executive directors.
Good evening, Dr. Burgess, Board of Directors, and community. I am Lori Knudsen, Executive Director of Elementary. Elementary principals actively reviewing their mid-year data in collaboration with their leadership teams to assess progress towards their improvement goals. This process involves analyzing key performance indicators, identifying trends, and determining areas requiring additional support or adjustment. Together, they are refining their strategies to ensure alignment with district priorities and the needs of their students and staff. Their dedication reflects a commitment to the continuous improvement and fostering academic and social-emotional growth across their schools.
Hello, Board, Dr. Burgess, and community. I want to talk a little bit about our secondary principals and the teachers that they work with. They are also working with their teams of teachers on reviewing winter growth data and looking at their next steps for next semester. I want to highlight some a process that they have entertained me and also learned from this year. Just a shout out to all of the teachers in the secondary who have engaged in the work that we've been doing around aligning our teaching practices, both horizontally and vertically through their content teams. It's hard work diving into and unpacking standards, but I really appreciate their willingness to work towards those goals. I know that it's going to pay off for our students. So it's a big thank you and a shout out to them for it's tedious. So I really appreciate that. two updates for you. The first one is that we are just about ready for our interviews for the student representatives to the board. We'll do those interviews next week on the 27th and the 29th. Currently, I have 7 of our 9 candidates scheduled into time slots. I'll get those last 2 in and send you the list of students and what times they're in there. It looks like we're going to do just 2 of them on Monday, right at like, I think it's like 4:30 and 5 o'clock, and then the rest of them will be on the 29th. So a very short session on the 27th, and then the rest on the 29th. And Ms. Gibson will send you that interview schedule, so you should see that tomorrow. And then the second thing I haven't kept you up to date on is the fundraiser that our joint boosters and PTSAs are doing. It's called United for Our Senior Class, Together We Rise. They've raised $6,990 so far, and that offsets the cost of taking our graduation ceremonies off-site to locations that better fit the needs of those groups, both at Angel of the Winds for Marysville Getchell and Marysville Pilchuck. We're going to use the Everett Historical Theater at a really great price for Legacy, and the Gathering Hall for Heritage. So everybody's got a special place that fits the size of their programs and is going to feel really cool. So we're excited about that. Just a little bit left to do. We're just maybe $4,000 left to go. So I'm really excited, and I'm thankful for the community for their support and allowing these kiddos to have space to have as many people come watch them graduate as they can. Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Directors, community, colleagues. I'm Dr. Courtney Hill. I'm the Executive Director of Equity and Family Engagement for the Marysville School District. Since our last board meeting, the bulk of my work has focused in a couple of areas, one being harassment, intimidation, and bullying. So I've been attending some trainings put on by the state to work on how to improve the practices that we have in place as a system and to think about how we might want to make adjustments based upon the communities that we serve. I'm also happy to announce that this week is when the trainings for Imagine Learning have started for for teachers who are using that program to support their students through the partnership we've entered into with them, which we approved at the last board meeting. So those trainings are tonight and tomorrow. And then the final thing I wanted to share is that I was able to participate in some training with King County and Snohomish County Equity staff to get access to ways to recruit more bilingual and multilingual staff who are diverse, and staff who have graduated from schools in those counties and now want to work in them. So hopefully that'll help us find some more staff to support our schools and community. Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Directors and Dr. Burgess, Marysville Community. I'm Brandon Bowman, the Executive Director of Finance and Operations for the district. On our finance report, our financial position continues to be stable and well monitored, reinforcing our commitment to responsible stewardship of the district resources. I'm pleased to report that our actual expenditures have remained steady and well aligned to our revised budget plan. For example, our December expenditure actuals came in favorably at 15 million against a forecast of 15.6 million. We've begun our budget planning for the 2025-2026 school year, starting with the forecasting enrollment of each school. And we've also been working with the State Auditor's Office, and we'll be increasing that participation in February to complete our annual audits. On the operations side, the most important thing to note is we have staff shortages in IT and food service. We have lots of positions open in food service and a couple in IT that are on our website. And I believe, is a job fair coming up this weekend. And so for more information on that, anybody interested can take a look at that and see application instructions on the MSD website. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to get into some upcoming events. This is going to be
Lori Taylor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right there.
The interim executive director for human resources, and it is a privilege to work in the Marysville School District. We have talented staff, and we are working to improve systems to support them. First, we're having a job fair on Saturday. It's the first one in a while, and people always have changes in their lives, so they change jobs, and we need to build a staffing pool to support that. We also have been working closely with Brandon and others to develop a new approach to staffing that will provide our principals and administrators with a live, accurate document of staff, open positions, and quite frankly, who is in which position and their funding. So we're excited to start that this month. We also are working very hard on clearing backlog of transactions that built up during various vacancies and positions. And your HR department is working hard, and you should be proud of them.
Thank you very much. We're going to get into upcoming events presented by Jody Runyon, Director of Communications.
Hello. Okay, I'm just going to touch on a few things this evening. I am going to say it for the third time, so for our audience too. We're having a job fair on Saturday. So I appreciate that that has already been shared, and that's from starting 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock here, right here in the boardroom.
Yes.
So that's this Saturday. I also wanted to mention, you're going to notice on here that the PTSA Reflections event that I talked about at the last board meeting has been postponed. So that was going to happen tomorrow night. So I wanted to make sure and let people know that that's been postponed. They'll be working on a new date, and we will help them publish that when it comes up. I also want to point out that Monday, the 27th, is a non-instructional work day, meaning there's no school for students. So teachers will still be working, service center staff will still be working, but it is a non-school day for students. And as we all know, right now, there's grading and finals happening these last 3 days of the week. Also important, I want to point out, on January 28th, we will have our very first Budget Advisory Committee meeting. That's also right here in the boardroom, starting at 6 o'clock. And the rest on there is really events in our schools. So that's about all I have to report on this evening for the rest of the month of January.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, now we're going to get into the hearing of business of visitors. I do have the sign-in sheet that was at the front there. Before we get started, when I call you up, everybody has 3 minutes to speak, and you'll notice the clock up there that says 3 minutes. That'll start as soon as you start speaking. Once it turns yellow, that means you've got about 30 seconds left. And once it starts flashing red, that means your time's up. And if that's the case, if you've got 15 or 20 more seconds left that you can finish your statement, please do so. Just ask that you would respect those that are speaking after you, respect their time as well. Without further ado, I'm going to call out your name, and if you sign this sheet and you were just signing in for attendance, just let me know. You don't have to come up to speak. But I'll read your names off. First on my list is JJ Newman. JJ, hello.
Good evening, board members. My name is JJ Newman, and I'm a science and STEM tech teacher at MMS. I am speaking tonight on behalf of middle school students, a group I feel has not been given much consideration during this process when it comes to disruption. For the school year of 2022-2023, the boundary lines were adjusted, and about 2/3 of the middle school students at Cedar Crest, Totem, and MMS attended a different school for 7th or 8th grade than they had the previous year. This was not a change they had any say in, and they were understandably extremely upset. You browse the research with almost any question about moving kids during their school years, and the result for worst time in almost every case is middle school. At the start of adolescence, kids turn more to their friends than parents for validation and problem solving. The camaraderie they develop is akin to a family relationship, and their friend group has a notable influence on their academic performance. 2.5 years ago, this district conducted its own unofficial experiment on this topic, and it was a disaster on all 3 campuses. Many students express their frustration and anger by being disruptive in classrooms and during unstructured time. They quit on their own learning while also striving to prevent others from learning in an effort to bring attention to their very hurt feelings. It was an extremely difficult teacher life that year on all 3 campuses. We had quarterly district-wide department meetings where we could commiserate and share problem-solving strategies because we all had the same stories. It was my first year in this district, and though I was laid off with the other Provisional 1 teachers that spring, I fought my way back onto the MMS campus because there was a lot of good there too. There were, of course, a lot of kids who just wanted to show up each day and do their best and be good students, and they had my deep sympathy. I showed up for them each day and did my best. It was hard work. If your decision tonight shifts 450 current middle school students off the MMS campus and onto that of Totem and Cedar Crest for next year, please be mindful of the significant disruption you are choosing. These kids we work with every day love their friends and rely on them for so much of their wildly dynamic social, emotional, and academic well-being. The disruption is not just one of physical location. Much more significantly, it is a disruption to their tightly knit social structure and potentially a disastrous disruption to the educational environments in which some of these kids will express all their feelings next year. I truly despair for another round of middle school students having to cope with the consequences of a decision beyond their control. The responsibility is yours to judge the amount of disruption associated with closing a middle school versus closing elementary schools. But you can certainly ask any middle school teacher in this district how it was 2 years ago, and they will tell you it was terrible. I beg you, keep the 3 large middle schools open in order to minimize all kinds of disruption. Don't repeat recent history. Please don't choose terrible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Next up on my list, I have Sharon Eldridge. Hello, Sharon.
Hello, good evening. I'm Sharon Eldridge. I'm a resident here in Marysville. I have 2 children in the school district, one in 7th grade and one in 4th grade. I can say I actually haven't participated as much as I would have liked to in board member meetings over the last few years. I'm trying to get better at that. I actually want to thank you very much for bringing our children in today for the choir performance. My daughter was one of them. I think that's a great way to encourage our local parents to come and participate more as having aspects of their children's lives that blend into the actual board meeting. As part of this board meeting, I did also see that there was a topic, obviously, about school closures, but also about proposing new courses. They happen to be on the high school courses. My son is in middle school, and he has courses that are not being, from what I can tell, funded or staffed. And so I just ask you, as part of all of the overview updates to the schools, whether you consolidate, whether you don't, whatever you do in the next school year, please look for our children and what they need. And the courses that aren't getting funded, make sure those are getting funded along with whatever you want to add. So one in particular is our languages. I find foreign languages to be an incredibly important part of our culture as we continue to move forward to be more multicultural. And it actually increases our children's ability to live in our diverse world. So I would like to ask that there is more focus put on ensuring the courses that have not been funded do get funded, and definitely talk to our kids about what they want. My son has been very disappointed in not being able to take those courses over the last couple of years. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next up on my list, I have Chris Davis. Welcome, Chris.
Chris Davis, Marysville. I'm going to flip the script a little bit and direct my attention behind me mostly. The time for action and taking responsibility was years ago. We in Marysville have neglected to fund our schools for decades. They're going to make a tough decision, but we drove them there. So any decision that they make, it's going to be terrible. Kids are going to get hurt. They don't have any other choice because this is the only option that we gave them. So I'm asking you all, embrace the community that came together earlier to celebrate our students, teachers, and staff, despite all of the shortcomings of our community, and stand behind them. We're not here for the school board members. We're not even here for teachers. We're here for the students. So we need to stay focused on that. And just like trying to get a kid to clean up their room, they don't want to do it. It's terrible. It's disruptive. It ruins their world. I have a 13-year-old. I know. But it gets done. You have to do it. You have to make the hard choices when you get 20 years past the point where they should have been made. So please, stay patient.
Thank you very much. Next up on my list, I have Alicia Corgiulio.
Good evening, Dr. Burgess, Board of Directors, colleagues, and beloved community. My name is Alicia Corrigiulo. I'm a staff member of the Marysville School District, a graduate of Marysville Schools, a community member, and now a parent of 2 children enrolled in our district. I come to you today with a great concern for our undocumented students and their mixed status families. Given the fears and uncertainties regarding the contentious immigration and education policies being touted by the new administration, I believe that this is a call to action in our district. As reported by OSPI in November 2024, there are over 1 million immigrants in Washington state. 1 in every 4 immigrants is undocumented. 2,000 undocumented students graduate from Washington high schools each year, including our high schools. So what can we do as a district to support our students? We must develop administrative policies for undocumented immigrant students and mixed status families. What procedures are in place to ensure that students and family status is protected? How will we support a student who experiences an immigrant-related emergency? What are district staff to do in the instance that immigration authorities seek information regarding our students and their families? These policies and communications to staff, students, and families cannot wait. It is my ask that the district implements and communicates these policies and procedures immediately to all stakeholders. What are some additional things we can do? We can continue to work to develop our community partnerships, developing close relationships with local organizations like Keep Dreams Alive, colleges, and universities. We can host or collaborate with these partners on Know Your Rights workshops. We can continue to strive to make Marysville School District a safe and inclusive place for all. Research shows that undocumented students often choose to hide their legal status out of fear. We can work toward fostering inclusive learning and environments and identifying ourselves as allies. It is our responsibility to empower our students and families with varying immigration statuses. As a social worker, my code of ethics calls on me to seek justice and work toward the enhancement of human well-being and help meet the basic human needs of all people, with particular attention to the needs and empowerment of people who are vulnerable. As a district, our core values of communication, accountability, resilience, equity, and student-centered approach drive these actions and beliefs. Our district's equity statement reads as follows. Working together with the Marysville communities and Tulalip tribes, the Marysville School District holds itself accountable for eliminating group-based disparities and barriers and ensures access to support each student in an equitable and inclusive environment. We value and honor the cultural diversity of every student, our families, staff, and community members in helping each student achieve personal and educational goals. Let's ensure that we hold true to those words. Dreamers, DACA recipients, birthright citizens, undocumented immigrants, and others play a vital role in this community, our economy, and everyday lives. Public education is a civil right. All students should have the opportunity to learn in the Marysville School District without fear and distress. The safety of our student must be protected now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up on my list, I have Molly Daniels. Hello, Molly.
Hello and good evening. I am Molly Daniels. I am the president of the Green and Gold Booster Club at Marysville Getchell High School. You probably hear me talk all the time about raising money and begging the community on Facebook to help us. But we really, truly are here for our students and our student support. I originally came up here today to talk about the graduation that was already talked about, so I won't go on about that. But I will say that if you are a community member or any of our board members would like to support graduation, you can do that online at givebutter.com/Marysville to Laylup Seniors. Boosters does so much for our community as a whole, not just Getchell, not just Pilchuck, not just Legacy, and not just Heritage, but for all students who will end up in one of those high schools and graduating. We support the band by we're going to Disneyland this year. We support all of the sports. We support the unified new athletics. We just do so much, and we're all working together. And I just beg all of you behind me that it really, really does take a community, and we couldn't do it without you. So one, thank you. And two, if you're interested in getting involved or finding out more about what we do, we are on Facebook, and we also have a website, greenandgoldboosters.org, where you can find more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's going to conclude our public hearing. We're going to move on to the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion for the minutes?
I move to approve the work study, the regular session, and the executive session minutes of January 6, 2025 as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We're going to get into the consent agenda. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Does somebody want to read gifts to the district? I can.
Yeah, I can. Absolutely. All right. So gifts to the district. I'll read off some of the gifts that were donated or given to the district. So first up, the first contributor is WorkPoint, gift to Marysville School District for the use of equipment, items to be used throughout the district at various school locations as needed, in the amount of $250,000. Next contributor is James and Patricia Ross. This is a gift to the Cedar Crest Drama Club. It's a monetary gift. The purpose is for concession revenue to be used as needed by the Cedar Crest Drama Club, and that is in the amount of $1,850.50. Next contributor, we have Meredith Jinks. And this is a gift to the MGMP Girls and Boys Swim and Dive team. This gift, it comes in the form of equipment or laptop. And this item is to be used by the coaches to help support swim and dive, and it's a monetary value of $600. We have Costco Wholesale Corp., a gift to Pinewood Elementary, a monetary or a Costco gift card in the amount of $500, and the purpose is funds provided to give snack products to students in need. And we have Brandon Bowman, gift to the Marysville School District for equipment, for computer monitors, items to be used for school district needs, monetary amount of $400. Total gifts to the district amount to $253,000, $253,350.50. So,
Wonderful.
yeah, I would love to, can we just give a round of applause to?
Thank you. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty amazing. I just have two comments involving personnel. First one, I was glad to see that we have hired both our head coaches for middle school track this spring. And so I'm glad to see that that's been taken care of. That's going to be on. I see one of them sitting out here in the audience, Jake Schmidt. So again, honoring our commitment to middle school kids to bring sports back. And makes me feel really good to see that that's coming up. Second thing doesn't make me feel so good, but on the personnel report, we've started to lift the RIFs for restructuring. And I just want people to know that as we make these cuts, that they affect people. These are people with lives. They're people with families, and so it's not just dollars and cents. There are people that are being affected by these decisions, and I just would want us to just to keep that in mind as we continue to make these cuts, to treat them with kindness, to have some compassion for people, and see how, think about how you would feel if you were in the same position. So I thank them from the bottom of my heart for the work that they've done for our district and that they will continue to do for our district. And thank you for your service to us. And I'm sorry that this had to happen. It's not an easy thing, but we appreciate the class and the grace that you've exhibited for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Harris. I really appreciate your comments. I think the board, all of us feel that very same way. The other item on the consent agenda that I did want to just recognize is we have some requests for travel, and that travel is supported either by funds from boosters. So thank you for all of your work to make sure that students have the opportunities to have those experiences, or by ASB. So any travel is covered by other resources other than the general fund.
Thank you very much.
And then I just wanted to acknowledge the pathway that we're working towards for paraprofessionals, that you can see reflected in the in our consent agenda with the Edmond School District. It has been a long time that we've been hiring behavior technicians and services from different vendors. So I just appreciate that we're finding a solution that is going to be cost effective for the district.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Before I get to board action, Vice President Kristen, did we update did we change?
We
stuff
did
around?
not adjust
Okay.
the agenda, no.
I only asked because I was tardy to the meeting, and I apologize. 15 minutes before the meeting, my wife called and said that she and my kids broke down on I-5. So I had to leave and put on my dad and my husband hat for a little bit, and I appreciate you taking the helm at the beginning there. We're gonna get into board action here. The first action on our agenda is school closures and consolidation decision. This will be presented by myself, and this is going to be in the form of a motion. I've got a motion here that I will make, and then utilizing Robert's rules, we'll go through that process. And then just a reminder, if there's any part of this motion that that you as a board member, individual board member, don't agree with, we can talk about that during the discussion time. And if it comes to making an amendment to the motion, we can do that. But I will kick off this process. All right, so I propose the following motion. I move to direct the superintendent to take the following steps for the closure and reconfiguration of schools. This proposed action will adjust school size and configuration to address declining enrollment over the past 15 years and meet our targeted savings of $2 million for the 2025-2026 school year and beyond. My first bullet point is the reconfiguration of elementary schools to a K-6 grade structure. Number 2 bullet point, close the Liberty Elementary School building. Number 3, close the Marysville Middle School entity and repurpose the building for Liberty Elementary. School students, staff, and programs disperse students to the other middle schools. Number 4 is reconfigure Cedar Crest Middle School and Totem Middle School to a 7-8 grade structure. And number 5 is relocate Legacy High School to a different campus yet to be determined. In addition, the superintendent is hereby directed to provide biweekly updates on the status of the school closures, reconfigurations, and their impacts. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Do we have discussion for this motion?
I have a couple of comments. First off, I noticed we are clear that we're reconfiguring Cedar Crest Middle School and Totem Middle School. And I'm assuming by the lack of anything else, we're not reconfiguring the grade structure at 10th Street School by this motion. Is that correct? Do we need to state that explicitly? I would just toss that out as an item for discussion. I'm not proposing an amendment at this point, but I toss it out as an item for discussion.
Are you recommending stating specifically that we are not?
I think we should discuss that fact. I'm not offering an amendment at this point, but I would like to hear the opinions of the other school board members on that topic. The other thing that I would propose an amendment on is I think one of the things we're going to want biweekly updates on is the process by which these changes are going to be implemented. And again, that may be implied by it, but I really think it needs to be explicit that the superintendent is going to provide us biweekly updates on the process of implementation of these changes, the implementation process of these changes and their impacts.
Any other discussion points from the other board members?
One that I would like to bring a point to is just, yes, having more, I would support changing it to understanding that process and the impacts, because I think that there are still more, there's money that we're going to have to spend to make these changes. And so I guess having a more full understanding of what that looks like. And then number 5, I would move to amend this to say that the school maintains their programs as a school within a school for the relocation of Legacy High School, because I think it's important that we have an alternative opportunity for our students that that desire that and that thrive in that program.
Director Davis, are you able to write that down? I do need to go over to Director Mark, and would you make your amendment first, and we can vote on that, and then that way we can keep the process clean.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to say that we change the final sentence. My amendment is to change the final sentence to from reconfigurations and their impacts to reconfigurations. Let me say this: the process for implementation of these changes and their impact.
All right, I would second that. Do we have any discussion?
So I would actually probably add a piece to that. So, and before we move into my comments with respect to that, because I'm thinking a little bit on the same lines, but maybe with some additional specificity. I just want to open by saying that I think all of us take this process very seriously and recognize the real impacts that it has to our families, our students, our staff. We're talking a lot about buildings and numbers, but I want to acknowledge before we have more of this conversation that we recognize the very personal impact that these decisions have. As we, talk about numbers and just different things, I just want to make sure that we acknowledge that. So I agree with you, Director Thomas, that I think we need some additional information out of these biweekly updates. One of my concerns, we are talking about a very major shift in how we deliver sixth grade education. And for a number of reasons that you've outlined, I mean, I couldn't agree more that we need to do better and that by continuing to do the same thing, we can't expect to get different results. However, it is a huge shift that has a lot of impact on both buildings and staff. And I'm not sure that we have anticipated all of the costs of the different moving bits and pieces and parts. And what has started this conversation is really that we need to save a specific amount of money. And so my concern is that we head down this path and it maybe doesn't produce quite the savings that we're hoping for. So I think and there's a lot of pieces to it, whether we have staff that have certifications, whether we have curriculum, there's a lot of pieces that I think as we look to modify buildings that would need to be reconfigured or adjusted. So I really would like to see a financial analysis that includes both the savings and then the cost pieces that are going to come out of that, whether we have to add portables at buildings, whether we have to have, because I want to ensure that we're actually achieving the results that we think we're achieving by moving to that model. I think, and then the other piece that you mentioned, I certainly support keeping 10th Street as a 6, 7, 8 model, if that's what.
Right, so, so the motion that we're, discussing right now is that last paragraph, that last sentence that says, in addition, the superintendent is hereby directed to provide biweekly updates on the status on the status of the progress and process of school closures, reconfiguration, and their impacts. Is there any other discussion for that motion?
I guess I would ask, this, do we need to include something to say, and their financial and other impacts perhaps, just to add, maybe I would like to change my amendment to change it to say, and their financial and other impacts, so that we can clearly look at that. And to add some commentary to that, I think we need to keep in mind when we're looking at the financial impacts that are coming down, we're talking about the goal is to save $2 million out of the general fund expenses in next year. We also have a capital fund, and we have to recognize that a lot of the impacts that are going to occur when we implement changes, when the school district implements changes, are going to be capital projects. And that is additional funding that can be used without impacting the general fund savings. I mean, our crisis, as it were, is the general fund and the money coming from that. And if we can incur one-time capital cost in order to achieve recurring general fund savings, that's an investment, not necessarily an outright deduction from that savings.
Go ahead.
So I'm really glad you brought up capital funds because that is another area of concern, at least for me. So
Okay.
our capital fund right now, I think we have 7.3 or so 7.3 million. And we have used that fund as a bridge for our cash needs. And we're hoping to maybe wean ourselves off of that as we develop more of a fund balance. But right now, we don't have additional resources to bring money into that fund. So we have a capital bond, I think that are finishing our last payment on. We don't have additional resources that can add money to that capital fund. So anything that we spend out of it on aging facilities or updating facilities is at this point not money that's replaceable unless we go out to the community and ask for additional capital funds. So when I look at it at 7.3 million minus the 3.5, that's not a lot of money to be able to update MMS, update Totem if it needs additional science labs, to do the work at Cascade. And then I know that I think I had asked about what the costs were for some of the major improvements that we have at some of our oldest buildings, because we have some buildings that are really outdated and have some significant needs that are pretty costly. So and wherever Mr. Dennis is, you can help correct me if I get my numbers wrong. But I know we have $800,000 of improvements that need to happen at Cascade if it were to stay open. There's $3 to $5 million in costs at Totem if things were to fail. We've got systems that we are incredibly expensive to maintain because they're so old that we need to make, we need to make things for. So I hear you with respect to their kind of one-time investments, but I want to be really cautious about, we don't have a lot of money in our capital fund. And I think we need to be mindful of that, especially when we're considering which buildings we're going to invest in. And it is a trade-off because it means that we don't have those resources to invest in our other needs, whether it's a need at Cedar Crest or a need at Marshall or a need at Pilchuck. So I want us to be mindful of that, which is part of my thought around the additional focus on at that financial analysis piece, because I remain concerned about where we're actually going with this, that we get, again, everything we need.
And I agree with you that as we look at the selected process for implementation of this, we need to look at the fact that we're executing it in a manner that we achieve the desired savings or the projected savings. I fully endorse that. And I think that's part of our responsibility as a board to do that. And I agree with you that we don't have any clearly identified means to replenish the capital funds, but don't I recall that at a prior meeting, we authorized Superintendent Burgess to go out and get some appraisals of some surplus land and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Burgess, but I believe that any proceeds from those sales would go into the capital fund.
That is correct. And those appraisals that you authorized, we're anticipating getting finished sometime this month. We were hopeful that it'd be the middle of the month, but clearly we missed the mark there. But the firm that we hired is doing that process. So you will have that information by the next board meeting.
Okay.
All right, so currently the motion that we have is to change the last sentence to, in addition, the superintendent is hereby directed to provide biweekly updates on the status of the progress and process of school closures, reconfiguration, financial and other impacts.
Financial impacts.
Financial and other impacts.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
I had 4 or 5 things, but Director Michael got them all. So thank you. Yes.
Sorry.
No, that's great. No, that's,
All those in favor of that initial amendment?
Aye.
aye.
All right, motion
Aye.
passes. All right, so we're still in the discussion phase of the overall motion. Do I have any other discussion on the overall motion? I believe I put the motion in front of you to review. It would be easiest if you pointed it out by bullet point number.
So number 5, I would like an amendment to say relocate Legacy High School to a different campus that the school maintains their programs as a school within a school.
I would second that.
All right, motion and a second for that amendment. Any discussion around that?
I guess I would just maybe add to your comments, Director Davis. I really think that we need to make sure that we're offering our high school kids, students options. We know that not every student learns in the same way. And I think having an alternative to a comprehensive high school is really important. And, you know, regardless of where we're at with location, you know, I think we need to ensure that we have those services for our kids.
I do have one comment. I just would be interested in hearing anyone else's opinion on this. I agree that with I agree with the change to point 5, but I would like to when Legacy High School is relocated, assuming we approve this, the students, although they will operate within a school within a school, they will have opportunities on whatever campus they locate at to take advantage of the other educational opportunities at that campus, because both Totem and MPGS have additional opportunities for high school students, additional educational opportunities. I would like to make sure everyone agrees we're not restricting, even though they operate as a school within a school, it's not our intent to restrict them from taking classes out, the students to take classes outside of the Legacy High School curriculum that are present on whatever site they happen to be located at.
So I agree with you. I think one of the things though that we've heard is that Legacy operates on a kind of a unique trimester system that allows students to gain additional credits, maybe a little bit faster than what our traditional high schools are doing right now. At MG and MP, you get 24 credits and you kind of, you know, that's your opportunity to get the credits that you need to graduate. Not that there's not credit recovery and those kinds of things. And I think the Legacy model gives kids an opportunity maybe to recover those, well, to have more opportunities during the school year to earn credit. So there might need to be some creative thinking. I certainly wouldn't want to restrict anybody if they wanted to take an elective that was offered wherever the location is from, you know, taking advantage of what's on the campus. But definitely support that school within a school, so that learning environment that they've expressed to us that is important to them and supportive remains.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Is that possibility?
I think it's definitely a possibility, and it's something that we could work out with, the staff that, when a student expresses an interest in getting involved in a CTE class that might be beneficial for their after school kind of work that they're going to enter into, we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to pursue that. So that's something that could be done.
Or any other discussion on this point? All right, so I have the amendment as relocate Legacy High School to a different campus maintaining their program and status as a school within a school. Do we need to add language about accessing, or is that something that we would keep legacy students from anyways?
I don't think you need this in your motion. Those are details that will be delegated to the professional staff to make sure that it actually happens.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Oh, can I
So,
say
go
something?
ahead.
Okay, I think this is, it's been said before, this is a really difficult decision, and this is not one that anyone on the school board is making voluntarily. We're not doing this to try and, with a direction to try to improve this for our students. We're doing it because we have to do it, and we have to do it in a way, I think, that focuses on causing the least amount of harm. And so it's a really tough decision, and it's going to require a lot of creativity, I think, on the part of the professional staff to figure out how to implement this in a way that does that. I mean, I think it's incumbent on us as a school board to monitor how the process they're using to do that, to make sure that that's that is looked into going forward, that is followed going forward. But you know, Dr. Burgess, we're relying on you and your staff to take this general plan and implement it in a way that certainly causes the least harm to the students, but also potentially provides additional opportunities for some.
Well, obviously everyone involved shares that motivation, but clearly no decision that you would make regarding this is going to be unanimously accepted. And it is a tough decision, but there's an awful lot of work that needs to be done in the planning process. So appreciate the fact that we're moving forward with this.
Any other discussion on that amendment? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. All right, again, we're still in the original motion. Any other discussion about this, this original motion?
Well, I guess I just would say in discussion that I am concerned about that we have Cascade Elementary, such an old school with so much wear and tear. I just want to make it a point to say that it is a school that has been discussed many times as one that needs to be rebuilt. I think it was put on a bond before, but the bond didn't pass. So just making a point to put that out there on the record, because we have to have a community that supports that. And hopefully, you know, we'll be able to get the bond passed to majority from super majority with the legislature at some point. And I also want to ask you to I guess I want to say too that I echo what everybody is saying here, that this is not an easy decision. It is a tough call to make, but we cannot not make a decision. We have to do that. It's our responsibility. And I just hope that I would like to ask that we all do it in a respectful way, both here and within our audience.
I agree, thank you.
Well, it doesn't help with comments happening in the audience. We understand that people feel hurt, but we're trying to do this in a very respectful manner and do what's right for our students.
I would agree. We're trying to go through this process step by step because it's not it's not a decision that should be made quickly. It's a decision that should take some serious thought. If you'd rather a quick response, I don't think we can give that to you right now. I think we're going to continue to discuss this point by point. If you do need to have some conversations with those around you, I would ask that you step out into the hallway, and once you wrap that up, you can come back in and observe the rest of the meeting. Any other discussion around the original motion?
So I did want to, I appreciate your comments, and one of the things that I have struggled with in this process, and again, it kind of comes back to our capital funds and the resources we have, and being responsible stewards of those resources, looking at some of our oldest facilities and not only keeping them open, but adding additional students on those campuses really causes me some concern. And I remain to be convinced, so I guess I will look forward to some of the financial reports that that's going to get us to where we need to be. I think, you know, so I guess and with all due respect to the lovely people who work at Cascade and the families that have called Cascade home for a long time, I struggle with keeping that building running and using the limited resources that we have to keep that going. And it does mean that we won't have the funds necessarily unless we go out to voters to make improvements at some of those other buildings. So I guess we're not amending, we're not adding, but I would say that if we're not realizing some of the financial goals that we need to realize from this, I think we need to come back and look at what we're doing. I mean, my concern is that we're moving a lot of bits and pieces and parts around, and I want to make sure that we're actually achieving what we think we're going to achieve here. And do we want to have more of a discussion on the K through 6 restructuring? Is that something everyone's comfortable with, or?
All up for discussion.
Yeah, I guess for me, I feel like having K through 6 is it's a change that is very outside the box. I know other districts do it. And I also acknowledge that our kids are not doing well. The data tells us that. There's a 4-year trend that shows it was getting worse for our 6th graders. And so I like the idea of, I guess, being, it's kind of exciting to think that we can pave the way for making a lasting change for our 6th graders. That transition isn't easy. And I know that, I guess I just want to acknowledge that it's something very different. It's going to take a lot of work.
Yeah, it's taken me a long time to get to this point, and I'm not sure that I'm all the way there yet. People just, don't understand what a difficult and lengthy discussion this has, and we see all the points from everybody. I think that we need to look at, I realize that change is scary to people. Change makes people uncomfortable, but in change, there is also opportunity. There's also an opportunity for innovation, opportunity to do things better, to keep doing things the way we have been and think they're going to change is ridiculous. It hasn't happened in the past. And so to keep doing the same things that do not meet our kids' needs, does not benefit our students. And that's what we need to keep in mind first, is what is the best for our students. This may not work. Nope. All the research we've looked at has been so frustrating. Some cases it works, some cases it doesn't, because this is not like any other industry. This is talking about working with individual students, and what Director Thomas has pointed out. Both his daughters had a completely different middle school experience. One thrived and one struggled. Same, not different kids, but same family. So you when you're working with kids, when you're working with students, you can't ever be sure. But, you know, I think we owe it to our kids to give the best shot we can. Obviously, there's been problems at middle school. Middle school has not worked. You know, we have kind of been forced into this situation. We've got to make a decision. We can't string this out any longer. So we're trying to make the best decision we can, and we need to continue, though, to evaluate it, to look at how it's working, and to have the courage that if it's not, to go ahead and make some changes. Students, you know, kids are resilient. They are able to handle changes. Adults are the ones who have the problems with it. So I think that whatever system you have, kids will adapt, students will adapt. And I think that we need to be open-minded and do the best, do everything we can to make this work. To not just go at a half measures, to go full and do the work that needs to be done to get this done. It's, you know, do the hard work. We need to do better, and we need to do better for our kids.
Very much.
And just to expand on what Director Harris said, yeah, as I related before, you know, just a few years after Marysville switched from a K through 6 configuration into a K through 5, both my daughters went through the process of going to middle school, and first one went through and flourished in 6th grade, and the second one had a very difficult time, and that's. You know, I recognize it's going to be that way for a lot of families but what I do know is I do know 2 things. First thing, I know that what we're doing now is not successful for our 6th graders. Our scholastic testing numbers continue to decline. So we have to do something different. And this gives us an opportunity to do something different. There's going to be a lot of opportunity to look at programs that might work. There's going to be different space at different schools that can be used for a variety of different reasons. And, you know, I think we need to allow Dr. Burgess and his team to come up with some good solutions that we can look at and comment on and get community input on. And hopefully over the next several months, as we're planning for the next school year, we can come up with an opportunity to make the 6th grade experience overall better for our 6th grade students.
Any other discussion?
Well, wait, before we leave K through 6, I appreciate Director Harris, a lot of the things that you said. Can be very convincing. So, and I have done my best to do research on kind of this particular shift. And if it helps, we are not alone as a community kind of struggling to figure out what model best serves our 6th graders. And I have looked at stuff from Fairfax County in Virginia to the Edmonds School District, you know, and Edmonds is working to get their 6th graders into a middle school model because they're concerned about science and math and some of those other things. So I want us to be mindful of that. I absolutely hear that we've got to do something different. You know, and I guess I'm looking forward to hearing some of the solutions that the team comes up with to maybe manage some of those things. I think, you know, one of the things that we have thought about is, like you mentioned, you know, in your family, there's very different experiences in middle school. One 6th grader might be ready for it, another 6th grader isn't. And if I mean, a lot of us have kids and we know same family, kids can just respond very differently. And I think that was in part some of the logic about leaving a 6 through 8 model in place. Some of that makes sense. I mean, I realize it sets up kind of 2 different paths, but it does let the community know, or let the community tell us like what they want to see for their middle school child. And then you also mentioned something as part of this process. I think we are going to need more input from our middle school families. It's, again, a huge shift in the model, and we started talking about it in December. So I just want to make sure that we get that input.
And I would also add that as we look at, this is I think inevitably, like we said in the work studies, we're going to have to visit later on high schools because our demographics are what we have shows that we're going to continue to see a decline, and we cannot continue to not I guess make those decisions. So I just want to acknowledge that this is a step in making sure that we're doing the right thing and staying in alignment financially, and that we may have to have these conversations again in 2 years or 3 years about other, um, you know, high school, and we just have to keep adjusting to our demographics and the declines and do the responsible thing. So.
I agree with that 100%. We need to be watching I mean, certainly we have projections, and we could make an estimate based on those projections when we have to start looking at other sorts of reorganization. But we don't know at all if those projections are going to hold, and we need to keep monitoring that on a
Yep.
regular basis. Um, um, Whether it's through our budget advisory committee or some other organization that say, this is where we're heading. And when when we're faced with those changes, then we have to be prepared to address them.
Yes, and I think I appreciate that you say through the Budget Advisory Committee, because that's something that we've discussed. And I think in alignment with this, we hear feedback, and I think we need to make sure that we're continuing to develop those committees and involving our stakeholders in these processes in a meaningful way. That's we hear it with like tribal consultation, that it should be meaningful consultation so that our stakeholders are feeling that they have had a absolute say, it was meaningful, that they're being heard. So yes, I agree with that.
I would say that we're in a position where we have to make one really big decision because several little decisions weren't made over the course of 15 years, 15 to 20 years. And so I agree with both of you when you talk about concerns coming down the road in a couple of years. And I think if we're a part of the team that doesn't make those little decisions along the way, then we're kicking the can down the road, the same as the previous boards have done for the past 15 years. So I agree with that sentiment. Tonight, I want to just ask if there's any more discussion as far as the original motion. And if there's no further discussion, I'll read the amended motion one more time so that all of you are aware of what the motion is, and then we'll take a vote.
So I just have a comment before you do that. And I just, I want to thank everyone who participated in the community survey that went out and wrote comments. I went through and tallied and read comments, and I just want to say that there are very compelling arguments and reasons on kind of all sides of this debate. But for me, I appreciate the input from the community. I think there's a lot of wisdom that came from the community, and it certainly helped to shape my thinking. So even if we don't vote in the way that, you particularly advocated for, your voice was heard. It certainly helped me, and I'm sure it helped some of the other board members too, as we kind of grapple with this conversation and the decision.
Get that?
I found the community the community input, particularly the community commentary, very, very helpful. It really pointed out how divisive and how hard this issue is, because on every particular point, there were people on both sides. And you could see some people who were firmly convinced it could only go one way, and an equal number, and in some cases, an equal number firmly convinced it could only go another way. So this was a very difficult decision to make, and unfortunately it couldn't be made just on this is what the community wants to do, because the community wanted to do all of the possible options.
All right, thank you for that. Any other discussion from the board? All right, I'll go ahead and read the amended motion. I propose the following motion. I move to direct the superintendent to take the following steps for the closure and reconfiguration of schools. This proposed action will adjust school size and configuration to address declining enrollment over the past 15 years, and to meet our targeted savings of $2 million for the 2025-2026 school year and beyond. Number one, reconfigure elementary schools to a K-6 grade structure. Number two, close the Liberty Elementary School building. Number three, close the Marysville Middle School entity and repurpose the building for Liberty Elementary School students, staff, and programs. Disperse students to other middle schools. Reconfigure Cedar Crest Middle School and Totem Middle School to a 7-8 grade structure. Relocate Legacy High School to a different campus, maintaining their program and status as a school within a school. And in addition, the superintendent is hereby directed to provide biweekly updates on the status of the progress and process of the school closures, reconfigurations, and their financial and other impacts. Any last discussion points? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. We're going to move into emergency school closure waiver request for Sunnyside Elementary School. This is going to be presented by Dr. David Burgess.
Yes, we had a weather situation where Sunnycrest or Sunnyside, pardon me, Sunnyside was closed, and state law requires us to submit a waiver for that. And usually when it's just one school within a district that is closed, it's a matter of just getting the paperwork submitted. So the paperwork is going to be submitted, and I wanted to make sure that it has your approval.
All right, do I have a motion?
I move to approve the submission of the emergency school closure waiver request to OSPI for the loss of one school day at Sunnyside Elementary School on November 20th, 2024, due to unforeseen severe weather conditions causing a region-wide power outage.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to be clear, what this means is they do not have to, they do not have to make up this particular school day. The Sunnyside doesn't
correct.
have to make up on its own, because every other school was able to hold class that day.
That is absolutely right. It allows that one school to be without the 180-day requirement.
Any other discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, Regional Apprenticeship Pathways, or RAP, sole source provider. This is going to be presented by Vonnie Walker, Executive Director of Secondary Schools, and Dr. Ann Carnell, Director of RAP.
You know her, she's been up a couple times.
Good evening, Dr. Burgess, board members, and community. The request this evening is to support a sole source purchase, the letter from CM Labs. And you want me to explain why? Okay, so currently, Regional Apprenticeship Pathways, as you know, the program is focused on construction trades. Currently, we don't have an opportunity for students in the program to have any hands-on experience with heavy equipment operation. And so we went to the Operator Engineers Union here in Washington and asked, how do you best prepare students to be in the Operators Union when they're coming from a high school, for example, and don't have hands-on experience with heavy equipment operation? They have purchased CM Labs simulators as the sole provider for their equipment on site. And so it makes sense for RAP to follow suit so that students that graduate from the RAP program have the same experience hands-on in a simulation lab that they will have upon entry to the International Operators Union. And we have a couple sites here that they can go to in Washington State.
Thank you very much. First, I'll take a motion for this and then we'll have some discussion.
I move to approve the purchase of the CM Labs Vortex Edge Plus training simulator systems for RAP and sole source provider for the successful implementation and operation of developing and implementing a regional apprenticeship preparation program as a pilot under House Bill 1013.
I second.
All right, motion and a second. Very long motion and a second. Any discussion?
I guess I just want to ask, there's OSPI is perfectly fine with us implementing this on a sole source contract, as far as we know. And okay, and that the fully funds would include the cost of all of this. Okay.
I'm curious how many of our students are using it now, and then how long the simulator lasts. Is it a 5-year purchase? Is it, is it going to be outdated in 5 years? Is it?
So the machinery itself it's got a longer lifespan, but we would do updates to software on the machines.
And how many students would be using it?
Approximately 75.
Thank you.
And I want to just say that this is a really good opportunity for students in the RAP program. The operators union is a great pathway for students to take. So I hope that this is really beneficial to some of them looking to go down that road. I'm sure it will be.
Thank you, Director David.
Any other discussion from the board?
So unless I'm probably just not seeing it. It's probably right in front of my face. So I apologize. So how much is it?
The machines themselves are approximately 65,000, depending on the machine that gets purchased.
Okay.
And so this is just for the sole source letter, and then the funding will come from the RAP budget.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. All right, next we're gonna move to the legislative priorities 2025, second reading and adoption. This is presented by Director Eliza Davis, Legislative Representative, as well as Jody Runyon.
I move to adopt the Marysville School District legislative priorities for 2025.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Let's have some discussion. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. That was quick. So we've brought this to you as an informational item. We also had a first reading where Director Davis was not well, so we missed having you here, but we did do that first reading. So this is being brought forward for second reading and adoption. Some of those next steps I want to reiterate is we will publish this broadly, probably starting tomorrow, throughout our community and with our legislative representatives. Also, we will be setting up some opportunities to talk with some community members and also providing people with information on how you contact your legislatures. So I do want to turn the mic over to Director Davis to comment on a brief meeting we had with SEIU representatives. You want to touch on that for just a moment?
Sure. We met with SEIU just to align our priorities and kind of prioritize. That was one of the things that uh, they were having some meetings, so they wanted to move forward in a way that is in alignment with our priorities to show some solidarity together as a union and a district. And so I really appreciated that opportunity. And also, I guess just saying that I look forward to the opportunity of working together with stakeholders to basically get them to get involved with helping to push out our priorities. So I appreciate that opportunity.
And I think it was a really meaningful conversation. Like we were learning from each other and found that we have some really like-minded thinking around what is needed for students and educational funding. So that was positive, and we hope to have many more of those.
Any other discussion from the board?
No, these are great. I think that, especially in light of tonight's discussions, the simple majority for bond, I think I would maybe move that to the top of the list right now. Seeing as, and special education too, that is a thing that really affects our district dramatically. So, not that the other ones are not important, but those two are, as far as the priorities I see on here, those two are especially important to our district.
And thank you for that. And I just had that one of the things that SCIU, Christy, would really like to see us align with other districts, and that's something that we talked about previously. I saw it a lot with WASDA at the General Assembly, where districts in regions were aligning their interest and coming forward together. And I would like to see us get to a place where we're doing that too. And so Christy is going to work on that from her perspective to try to get a meeting in place to get audience and for all of our local districts to be able to come together and push some of our priorities.
I love that as a strategy. I know from a legislator's perspective, it's a lot harder to say no when you have everybody kind of singing from the same song sheet, so to speak. So I appreciate that. I also appreciate the just the outreach to other stakeholders in our community, because I think we're stronger when we come to the legislature together. And we certainly know, given all of the funding issues that are out there, if you pick up the newspaper or watch the news, we are not the only school district that is, struggling financially. And a lot of that has to do with what is coming to us from the state level. So thank you for your work. Thank you, Jody, for your work. And
Yeah, and the SEIU representatives were going to meet with the governor the next day. So they were actually going to be in front of the governor, and that was exciting too. So we're all in this together, like I said before. Thank you so much.
All right. Any other discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next up, Indian Policies and Procedures, IPP. This is going to be presented by Dr. Courtney Hill, Executive Director of Equity and Family Engagement. Good evening, Dr. Hill.
Good evening, Board of Directors and community members who remain with us. So this is last time I presented this was informational. Now it's action. We are wanting to approve the updated Indian policies and procedures that we submit with our impact aid application every year. Between last meeting and this meeting, the most significant adjustments that were made were some corrections and then a few additions, a few edits that align with the shifts that were announced in the personnel report earlier this evening, because there were things that were assigned to a role that won't be in place any further. So we just clarified some things there, and now we're ready to move forward.
All right, do I have a motion?
I move to approve the annual Indian Policies and Procedures IPP for the 2024-2025 school year.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion around this action item?
I think I don't have any questions beyond what I had at our last meeting. She answered
Covered it
very
pretty
well.
well last time.
I agree. I think you covered it pretty well last meeting, and I didn't really leave there with any outstanding questions. There's no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Thank you.
Very much. Next, we're going to get into food service adult meal pricing. This is going to be presented by Lindsay Fitch, our child nutrition manager, and Brandon Bowman, executive director of finance.
Good evening, Board of Directors and Dr. Burgess. So at our last meeting, I presented to you some information on a proposal to adjust adult meal prices. We are proposing that we begin charging $3.50 for adult breakfast and $5 flat for adult lunch. Working in rounded amounts decreases touch time for our cashiering food service staff as well as the adult customers. Thus, we are asking to increase in 25-cent increments as it's the most sensible increase. It should also be noted that all revenues made within food services must be reinvested into that food service program and cannot be used for other purposes.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion?
I propose the adoption of the revised adult meal pricing as presented.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion?
I wish, I wish they were all as easy as this.
I was just curious, how often is this reviewed? Is it reviewed on a regular basis, or is it just as it comes to attention, or what's the process?
So it's not normally reviewed annually, but food prices have been going up. So at this rate, we're pretty much reviewing it annually.
Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Again, I think you covered this quite well during the last meeting, and I appreciate that. And I don't have any further questions. So at this time, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
All right, we're going to get into some informational items. First up on the list is a new course proposals for the 2025-26 school year. This is presented by Melissa Van Zanten, Director of Curriculum and Assessment.
Good evening. It's a little bit confusing. It says new course proposal, but according to our procedure board policy 2020, any course that hasn't been used in the last 4 years has to be brought forward to the board to reactivate it. So some of these courses have been used before, so I'll let you know which ones. So the first one on the list is Advanced Marketing Operations. It's a CTE course, and it's actually not a new course. This one is Advanced Marketing. It promotes success by fostering hands-on learning, critical thinking, and leadership opportunities while developing practical skills that can lead to academic and career opportunities. And the way it's used at MP, our Marysville Pilchuck, is the student store. And right now they have a marketing operations class that operates the student store, and they would like to have an advanced ones for students who want to continue that. So that's the first course. And if you have questions, just let me know, or would you like me to wait for you individually? Okay. So the second course is also from Marysville Pilchuck, and this is a horticulture class, and this is bringing a course back to life. And this is for some very excited teachers and their principal that these teachers got together with some volunteers, and I happened to be very lucky tonight. I got to sit by a couple that actually worked on bringing the greenhouse back to life. So they were very excited to see this as a course coming back so that they could offer the CTE course and have the students be able to take horticulture classes and start having plant sales at MP very soon. The third course is for MG, and this is a class that is for directed towards freshmen. And this class is to prepare students so they can focus on their future of high school and then prepare them for college. So it's enhancing their academic readiness by encourage enrollment in rigorous course offerings and critical skills such as goal setting, time management, and self-advocacy for the courses that they would pick throughout school. The last one is an introduction to strength and cardio, and this is the only course that's not a CTE course this year or tonight. And this one is actually a college and the high school course. So students can actually earn a college credit while they do this class. And it's an introduction to strength and cardio, which will help them develop their physical fitness strength. And it correlates with improved health, well-being, and overall academic performance. And the great thing about these courses is they don't cost anything extra. So every single one of them is with staff that we currently have on board. And there was one thought that if horticulture was going to cost anything, that CTE would be able to cover that. And that would be something that the way they presented it to me would be such as, for example to me, if they bought seeds when they sold things at the or at a plant sale, they would reimburse themselves and keep growing their business.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
I have a motion.
Isn't
need
this
ones?
informational?
Oh, sorry.
This one's just
I'm sorry.
informational. It's okay. It's been a long night.
I was like looking.
Are there any
for it.
questions for this informational item?
On the career and college success, is that aimed primarily at freshmen?
Yes, that one is.
Okay.
Mhm. It's mostly to get them set up to be successful and
I was off in La La Land for a minute.
I
thought-
said,
yeah.
I made a comment. I said, she said that.
oh,
I thought she did, but again,
it's okay. I'm tired too. I'm right there with you.
pride, obviously. So that's it. No, that's good. Yeah, no, it's great that we bring back the horticulture, especially after all the work that the community has put into getting the greenhouse ready and up and going. That, I mean, it makes sense. It's
It
so
does.
it's great.
It does.
So thank you for this. And it's fun to see some classes on here that are kind of teacher driven, right? That it's something that staff is excited about.
Mhm.
And kind of an adjacent comment and in response really to one of our community members tonight, I guess I would be curious as we look to this 7-8 model, as we look to course offerings for our middle schoolers, making sure that they hopefully can stay as robust. And then if there's things that we haven't been able to offer that maybe, economies of scale allow us to offer because we have kids in those buildings.
Right.
I would be curious what we can do that we haven't been able to do because we have that consolidation for our middle schoolers.
Well, part of my assignment, bi-weekly updates from
Thank
for
you.
the board, I will make sure that we get our CTE director in to address this very subject. And I'm just so impressed every time I work with Ryan. And I know he's going to have exciting things for our 7th and 8th graders.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see this horticulture piece kind of coming to fruition, or flourishing, pun intended. Because I remember when it talks about revamping and refreshing the greenhouse started with the hopes that we would be able to open up a horticulture course again. And so to see this informational item before us tonight is quite fulfilling to me. Director Davis, probably really fulfilling to you. And so that's nice to see. So I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you very much. All right, next up, interlocal agreement between MSD and Lake Washington Institute of Technology. This is presented by Bonnie Walker, Executive Director of Secondary Education.
Hello, thank you for having me here. I wanted to make you asked a question about the College and Career Success course, so I wanted to just let you know that's a wonderful course. It's like the jester of all CTE courses because it aligns with every pathway that's offered in CTE. So it's a really neat way for kids to get some foundational understanding around pathways and career opportunities and choices. So it checks off part of that box that they have to do to graduate from high school. So it's a really neat foundational course to have in place for freshmen to take. Extra stuff, why it's so important. Now, to my stuff. I'm talking to you a little bit tonight about Running Start. It came up because we have a revolving agreement with many community colleges, universities to offer Running Start. And this is something that it just seemed like a great time to talk about. So I'm going to read exactly what it is to make sure everybody understands it. And I'll talk a little bit about specifics to our district. So our school district, in alignment with OSPI, we support students attending Running Start programs. Lake Washington Institute of Technology is one of several colleges that house a Running Start program that Marysville students attend. The legislature, initiated the Running Start program as a component of the 1990 Parent and Student Choice Act. Running Start allows students to enroll at certain higher education institutions and earn high school, college, and university credit. Running Start is offered through Washington's 34 community and technical colleges, 3 public four-year universities, and 2 tribal colleges. Junior and senior students, as determined by the local public school district, charter school, or tribal compact school, have a right granted by the legislature to participate in Running Start. The exercise of that right is subject only to minimal eligibility and procedural requirements as described in state administrative rules. So I just wanted to bring that up. It's a wonderful opportunity that our students get to engage in. Here in Marysville, we tend to have students access about 6 or 7 different programs. Our biggest one is Everett Community College. This year, we have about 188 students accessing Running Start programs there. I believe last year was about 150, so a little bit higher this year. We have some students that do Cascadia. This year, we do not have any right now, maybe next semester, but we have 0 at Cascadia, but it's when we do. The Lake Washington Technical College, as you may have seen their ongoing program. We don't have anyone there this year. Skagit Community College is another one that we use regularly. And then Edmonds Community College, we have about 5 students accessing courses there. And Bellevue Community College, we have 1. So you may see in the financials, we generate POs. All of this is paid for through their apportionment. And so that's what those large POs are that you're seeing that are coming through. But those are fully funded, and it's just an opportunity for them to access their education at those higher learning institutions.
Thank you very much. Any questions regarding this information?
I guess maybe you said it and I missed it.
Oh, I said a lot, sorry.
But the Lake Washington Institute of Technology is not one of the colleges we've had a Running Start.
We do off and on. We don't have any this year.
Okay, but we have had in the past. Okay.
Yep, I kind of listed off our 6 or 7 that we tend to have students in. This year, it's only in 3 different schools, but that could change as quickly as next semester.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, monthly actuals report for December 2024, presented by Brandon Bowman, Executive Director of Finance and Operations. Evening.
Again, good evening, Board of Directors. Can I actually get the presentation? To brief you on the financial operations of the district for the month of December. December financial performance is filled with good news. Our expenditure actuals have been consistently aligning with our plan over the past 4 months, providing strong validation of our revised budget strategy. This alignment reflects our disciplined financial management and strategic adjustments. ensuring that expenditures and revenues remain on track. These results reinforce confidence in our approach and position us well for the remainder of the school year. Update on our enrollment. These actuals are through January. We're noticing a slightly less decline in January. That has actually raised my enrollment average projection for the rest of the year. This is also a best case scenario. The data just kind of points us in that direction. You can see the top blue line is our 22-23 actuals, and the orange line is our 23-24 actuals for enrollment. We had about a 400 student decrease between those 2 years. We're not seeing that significant of a decrease this year, but we are still expecting a decrease. General fund actuals. So through the month of December, you can see that our revenues are exceeding our expenditures, providing us with a bump of in our general fund balance. You can see that our expenditures for the month were 15.0 million against our average of 15.6. That was our expected average. And so that's about a $600,000 savings for that month. You can also see to the end of the year, our projected fund balance of about 5.3 million, assuming that everything goes according to plan and there's no surprises. Again, taking a look at our revenue trends over the past few years, you can see that our blue dotted line is in line with what we could expect with other years and exceeding last year's projections. Our expenditure trends are trending lower than previous years and are still in pace with what we expect for our average for the year. This slide is showing our trends over the years for revenue and expenditures. You can see our revenue trends are consistent with our previous years, and our expenditure trends are extremely consistent with the previous years. Looking at that bottom section of the chart, we're a third of the way through the school year. Our revenues, we got a third of the revenues that we projected, and our expenditures are about 33%, just under that third. This is a new slide that I put in here from last month, showing our 3-year average expenditures by object code as our baseline. And then looking at where we are in 24-25 year-to-date expenditures by object code. You can see that the variance that we're seeing is in our purchase services. That includes insurance, premiums, utilities, contracted employees, and professional services. Now that's up in percentage by about 3%. We've decreased our supplies and materials budget, but you can also see that the expenditure costs for our personnel remain consistent from year to year. This slide is showing our fund balance as a percentage of our expenditures. The blue line is 22-23, orange line is 23-24, and our red line is 24-25. A solid red line represents our actuals, and the dotted line represents our plan to go. You can see that our forecast is going to be higher than our 23-24 actuals, and you can see that in July and August, we're seeing a significant bump towards that fund balance. The next 2 slides are cash flow. Now, the first one that I'm presenting is what we presented in our F-195, and I presented last month that we were expecting to have an issue in June, not having enough cash flow for that month, about $4 million that we would not have. This slide represents the revised budget that we've put in place with our lower expenditure curve, and you can see that we do not have that issue with our lower expenditure curve. I'm also showing you the green dotted line, which is the $3.5 million loan that we have to repay to the capital funds project, and we expect to do that at the end of July. This slide is showing the aggregate of all funds. General fund, we ended the month of December with $872,000 in fund balance. In capital projects, $7.3 million. Our debt service fund, we ended about $800,000. We made a payment on our matured bond expenditures. This was anticipated, and that's why we have that fund. Our ASB ended the month at $1.8 million, and our transportation vehicle fund ended the month at $1.5 million. I went fast on purpose because it's been a long night, but I'll entertain your questions.
Sorry, I have a couple. I guess I'm a little concerned about the enrollment trend because it seems like we have a significant drop off towards the end of the year, and we tend to finish down from where we were in January, and you're not projecting we do that. I mean, granted, I don't think it's a huge number, but if you just look at the percentages from the past, it should be somewhere around 50 students down, and instead you're showing us 50 student, our annual average should be about 50 students down from where we are right now, and you're showing us 10 up. So that's probably a difference of 60 heads. Is that a significant? I mean, I guess perhaps that's not a really significant issue, but I think it's something we should be watching for to make sure that we are able to maintain these enrollment numbers as the rest of the year develops, because that could indicate an issue later on with.
Right. Yeah, I can definitely address that. So last month I presented a similar chart that had multiple lines,
Mhm.
and we had our projected FTE at the end of the year for the budget that we presented on the F-195 at about 9,009 FTE. And then after September hit last year, I projected that we were going to be down 135 kids. And looking at the data, and the data is showing me a different curve than normal, which is interesting. It's positive, it's favorable, but it's not something I'm adjusting my expenditure curve for yet. Typically at the end of the school year, we do lose kids. And as of last month, I was still projecting that to be lower. But the data from a month-to-month trend analysis, and I've looked at this 3 different ways, shows us that is our best case scenario when it comes to enrollment. And I think it's also the best trending analysis, and I can go through that in more detail.
Okay, so what you're saying is that the trend for the first 5 months of the year is up over the prior years, and what you're saying is that should, based on trend analysis, that should indicate that we won't have the big decline at the end of the year that we have had in the past couple of years.
Yeah, the first analysis method is mainly looking at how we lose kids over each month.
Mhm.
And then the second analysis method is month-to-month comparison, because if you're up here in 1 month, you're not going to correct to the next month with the original model. And so I'm looking at how does 1 month go to the next, and I'm using that trend as well. And so, like I said, this represents like a best case scenario, but it's also one that has some probability.
Okay. Okay, and then hopping down. I love all these numbers, by the way. Okay, hopping down to the general fund actuals. That I seem to recall 5.4 million was the projected ending fund balance last month as well, wasn't it? You haven't, or have you adjusted that upwards because we were under by approximately $600,000?
Yeah, I don't have last month's data in front of me right now, but
Okay.
it doesn't incorporate our actuals.
Okay,
So that number will change monthly as
okay,
our actuals get updated.
okay, all right. I'll take a look at that later on. If I have a question, I'll follow you up on it. Oh, and it's just kind of curious on the year-to-date revenues. 2 years were like at 33% of our revenue and then 2 of the years were way down. Did we get in 2021 and 2022 and 2023, 2024, did we get some late year surprise money or something? Is that why it
Well, there's definitely been a lot of variability in our revenue post-COVID, and they haven't really adopted a trend yet. But our budget this year closely represents our 2023 numbers, and so you can see that we're aligning to that budget. We had a different amount for the 23-24, which was revised mid-year, and so those numbers are reflecting what was submitted in the F-195, but that was revised lower.
Okay, all right. And okay, I think one of my questions you answered.
Now, you said he had 2 questions.
What?
You said you had 2
Okay, I'm
questions.
sorry. I thought I said I had a few questions. This is my last one, I promise. Actually, this is not a question, this is a request. When you do that general fund by object code slide, Would it be too busy to add the actual numbers in there as well as the percentages? It would be interesting to look at both.
I could do that for you.
Okay. That's it. Is it okay if he does that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I take my orders from you.
Okay, I'm just.
So absolutely. Yes.
Okay, I really like this. This was very good. Thank you.
I was going to say, I greatly appreciate the additional graphs and information. I find it also very, very interesting. And, on the purchase services side, just want to echo something that Director Davis mentioned earlier is the work that's being done to ensure that we have a pathway to help some of our current or the folks who are agency employees become permanent employees to help reduce some of that professional services cost. And then I'm curious about cash flow. So we have that $3.5 million loan from our capital fund. And it looks like we're going to be able to pay it back early. If all goes according to plan, do we have, are we anticipating in the last half of this year that we will need those funds again?
So we don't currently have that anticipation because our revenues and lower expenditures will give us a fund balance. As you can see, I'm projecting at the end of July. July is when we get one of our greatest percentages of apportionment. So we'll get our greatest amount of revenue. August is also a big month, and so we will not need that in August. You can see how the red dotted line does go down to the 6.9 million, and that is anticipating that repayment of the loan. Last year, we repaid the loan at the last minute, and this year we're anticipating to have the ability to repay that early.
That's great. So in theory, again, if things go according to plan, we should get out of that cycle of having to reach into our capital funds as a bridge loan when we're managing cash flow, at least to the degree that we have been.
Yeah, it is my hope to get out of that cycle. I didn't agree with that as our only choice, but it is our only choice. And so we are out of that cycle. As we build our fund balance, we will have that cushion to absorb some of the issues that we see and just the general variability of the apportionment model.
Okay, thank you. And again, thanks for the detail. I appreciate it. Oh, I have one more question. Sorry, one more question. Would you just go over the debt services fund piece again and why we have that $9 million number in red?
Yeah, so the debt services fund is basically a fund that we prepare to fund the bond maturity. It's kind of like a mortgage on the house, right? And so we received the bonds and we got money for that. Now we're paying them back. That's what that fund is.
And this is the last payment. So is that true or not true?
I'll have to get back in the last payment, but it's definitely paying what we owe now.
Okay. I mean, I'm just concerned because I guess I've got other questions, but I'll take that up later.
Well, I feel like it might be worth another conversation to talk more about the capital fund and about bonds and, just that whole piece. I mean, if we have that piece expiring, I guess, back to our earlier conversation, I just am concerned about where the resources come for capital funds so that we have the ability to kind of keep our buildings repaired and up to speed and working well for our students.
Right.
So
Can we look at what we have scheduled for our work study on the 3rd and see if that conversation fits? Or if we can replace what's there with that conversation?
We will make it fit.
that would be wonderful. And if I could, builder impact fees also consistently come up in community conversations as a piece that folks have concerns around, don't understand, have questions around. And I think it would be helpful for us to understand that part as
And
well.
we
'cause
need to
they
do a better
kind of go
job
hand
of
in
explaining
hand.
impact fees and why our district does not collect them. There is a reason for that. So we will have that as part of your study session.
Thank you.
Any other discussion for this informational item? All right, thank you very much. And follow-up items that we have mentioned already, we have the work study and regular session meeting on February 3rd, 2025. I believe work study time is to be determined. I would imagine 5-ish, 4:30-ish. Depends on how much is on there, but we'll send out a time to the community well beforehand. All right, superintendent comments.
I've got so many wonderful things to share. First, one of the things that I get to do after my normal day is I get to go out and see school activities. I get to go see plays. I get to go see athletic events. I've seen wrestling and basketball and all of that. And it's just wonderful to see the enthusiasm out in our community. And I want to share with you an experience that I had recently at Heritage High School. I was honored to sit with the elders because I'm certainly an elder of sorts, but our Heritage Hawks were playing Lummi Island. The gym was rocking. You think of basketball as just the 12 kids on the team and the coaches. Oh, it's way more than that. It is a community event that is filled with enthusiasm and energy. And it was just a privilege to experience that. And also to share with you that the Heritage Hawks are currently undefeated. So this is just a lot of fun. This is the fun part of being a superintendent. I get a free pass. I don't have to pay to get in. And I just have to explain to my wife why I'm not home. But it's thrilling to see the other things that are happening in our schools. And I want to also recognize that all of these changes are going to require a lot of work that other people are going to get their hands on. Becky, you and me, we're going to have to be very diligent in making sure that we engage with Lori about the contract and how we establish an MOU to deal with these various changes. It's our partners with our labor unions are key players in all of these. And I just want to make sure that I take the time to recognize the importance of partnership as we take on these tasks. Also, one of the resources for capital projects, liquidation of property that was discussed. You're going to get those assessment or appraisals, and you'll have an opportunity to discuss if that's how you want to add dollars to your capital fund. Also, by statute and board policy, you needed a closure of facility summary. I've provided that for your review. Each of you have a copy. And of course, after this, we're required to make a actual board meeting at the school that's going to be closed, which is Liberty. And at that, well, MMS is repurposed. It's not a facility closure. So that's, it's not nuanced. That's really the reality. That facility is not closing. This is about closing a facility. So the one facility that's being closed, of course, is Liberty. We're required to have a public hearing. We have a maximum number of days, 90 days to do this. I'd recommend that we get it done right away. We have a 2-week advertisement that we must do in order to get community participation in that. So I've got a pretty aggressive date in your document to schedule that. So I just want to make sure that you get a chance to review that. And if you have any questions, you know where I live. Okay. So don't hesitate to give me a call or email me. All right. So in addition to that, we've talked about variables with budget. I wish that this was so clear cut that you could actually say that it's exactly this amount that we're going to have to save. I want to share with you some variables that are out of our control somewhat. This month, our partners with the Tulalip tribe and the board will be deciding whether or not the MOU continues. That's $2.5 million annually. Clearly, I have feelings that we really need to serve our children, all of our children, as well as we can. And we need to address the concerns that have been expressed to Tulalip leaders. I'm committed to do that as your superintendent, but that's a variable out there that could significantly impact our budget next school year. Declining enrollment. I don't know how that's going to play out. We're going to come up with a projection. We're going to be conservative about our projections. But I want you to know that historically, we've seen a number of students that have opted out of our district. I've been in contact with a person in another district that said 400 of our students were denied entrance into that district because they did not have space. So these are real issues. One other real issue is our insurance situation. We're the only school district in the history of Washington, to my knowledge, that's been actually removed from the risk management pool. That's a huge loss for us. Our insurance costs are about 60% higher than they would be if we were in that pool. Thanks to Dr. Jarvis reaching out to the risk management pool to see what we have to do to get back into that insurance provider. So we self-insure for the first $1 million of loss. So when we have loss, next year, whatever loss we've had, we have to refill that $1 million before we start the year. That's a variable that we have some minimal control over. So it's not as simple as knowing that you've got $9.85 to spend at the grocery store. You know, you've got to keep your expenditures under that. It's way more complicated and a lot more variables that happen without our control. So I just wanted to share those big three ones right there. And I've talked enough for the night. All right.
Thank you very much. Kick it over to our board members for board comments. We'll start with my right.
Well, I don't want to steal other people's thunder, but I, again, really appreciate the opportunity to have the musical presentation before the meeting, and then the opportunity to recognize students and staff. And that's all I'm going to say on it, and because other people will make better comments than I would. Second, I am very pleased with the level of respect that was shown by everybody during the public comment period. We're dealing with some very contentious issues. There's a whole lot to be said on that, the main topic we're talking about, as well as several other important topics that came up during the public comment. And every speaker was treated with respect, and I thought the audience was very respectful, and I very much appreciate it. Third, I've said this a lot tonight, but I'm going to say it one more time. Dr. Burgess, you and your team have a very tough job coming up ahead. You've got to deal with this whole implementation of this closure plan, as well as a lot of other issues, you know, setting up a budget for next year. And that's going to be very tough. Your folks are going to have to be very creative, and there's going to be a lot of people watching you, not just us, obviously. The community is going to be watching, and we'll have comments about what you're doing and what we're consenting in. I guess it's the right term, since we don't necessarily have to approve things. But you know, that's a very tough job. I appreciate your willingness, and you and your team's willingness to undertake that. And I have a great deal of confidence in you, but still going to keep an eye on you.
As you should. Yeah. Yeah.
And then finally, I am not, I guess I've been on this board 2 months. Yeah, 2 months. I am really impressed with my compatriots here, the rest of this team. You know, we've dealt with some very difficult issues. We don't agree on everything, despite sometimes our votes seem to, but we discuss it. I think we consider the issues. It's very difficult. I know, from my point of view, everybody on this board has at least in the terms of the items they've expressed, has changed their opinion on how we deal with this school board closure at least once, probably at least twice. So I think that, and some several times. So I think that it's, I think there's a desire on this board to work together constructively to come up with the best solution we can under the circumstances. And I really appreciate, again, the opportunity that was extended for me to be on this board. So thank you, folks, for what you do.
Very much.
Yeah, I echo all those sentiments. Well said. I have appreciated the 5 months I've spent on this board, even though it's probably taken 10 months off my life. So it's not, but here we are. Echoing what Dr. Burgess said about the athletics and stuff. Winter sports are coming to an end. If you haven't got out to a basketball game, I know that Getchell's last home games are next week for basketball, MP the week after that. We've got Getchell and MP wrestling, I believe, on the 30th, as well as the last swim meet of the year. And also this Friday, 6 o'clock, the unified basketball team at Totem. It is free, but it is a fundraiser, so be generous. Oh, it's a Getchell? Okay, well, don't go to Totem, then go to Getchell. You wonder why nobody's there. So yeah, it's great. I was lucky enough to go to the first game. It is awesome. It is it's just the essence of what athletics are all about. And so if you've got time on Friday, I know there's lots of other things going on, but definitely make time. And if not then later on to go see that group play. Again, I just want to thank everybody. This has not been obviously an easy time and easy decisions. I appreciate everybody being respectful of one another's opinions. I just want us, now that we've kind of headed down this road, it's so easy to be negative. It's so easy to get in that the self-pity and, oh, poor us and that sort of thing. And to just leave that by the wayside and to look at these changes as opportunities to do better, to look at it as a gift instead of a burden, and see what we can do to make things right with this district. I think we need to keep going on that path. And so it's just all about how you think of things. I know that my thinking changed. I was kind of getting, I have to go and help at my in-laws' place because they can't mow the lawn anymore. And I got to go do this. And then when I changed my thinking from I got to go do this to I have the opportunity to do this, I get the opportunity to help, it certainly changed my outlook. And so maybe if we can keep that in mind as we go on, to look at this as an opportunity for us to show that, yes, we can do better. We can do things. So we got to stay positive. We got to set the
Well said, both of you. I want to thank everybody for staying with us to the bitter end, and for the folks that came and spoke tonight. I also want to be sure and thank the folks who watch and listen to meetings online. So I know we have a Zoom audience as well. I don't know that I have a lot that's original, because I really loved having the Kellogg Marsh Choir here tonight. It really just sets a great tone. I was, trying not to sing along out loud, at least I was in my head, right? And again, just recognizing the great things that are going on in the school district already. So I really appreciate this for Optimist, and recognizing staff, because we know we have staff who come in and work day in and day out and work really hard. And it's great to have an opportunity to see that here. And then I feel like my comments are kind of just mirroring what you both have said, because they're hard conversations and hard decisions. I don't think anyone took it lightly by any stretch. I appreciate the engagement from the community. I think I alluded or said it earlier. I read all of those comments, and it really helped to inform my thinking and my questions. And I appreciate the work that you have done and the staff has done. It's a lot. And that you invited us to dream along with you. And I think, kind of in alignment with your comments, Craig, this is an opportunity for us to set the stage for the next several years, to have both for our students, but to have a stronger financial future for the district. So yes, in the short term, hard changes, but I do think it's an opportunity. And, you know, I'm looking forward to the K through 6 conversation and some of the information that we bring back. And I'm hoping to have further conversations about what we can do for our students because we're making some of these changes. And then I want to thank my colleagues because, you know, everybody took this process very seriously, put a lot of work into it, a lot of thought into it, changed minds at least once or twice, depending on, you know, the information that we had and all of those things. And I think I really appreciate that the conversation has stayed respectful, even though it's a difficult one. So I appreciate all of you.
Hatzlachel. Good evening. I want to kind of change gears a little bit and acknowledge Alicia's public comment today because we're moving into a new administration on the federal level, and I think that is important for us to acknowledge that we do have a different demographic. In Marysville, we have a large Hispanic population, 36 to 38%. I don't know exactly what it is, but we have concerned families of undocumented citizens, and they need to understand their rights. I think it's our responsibility to also protect our students. And so I just really wanted to call a little bit of attention to her comments and echo that I also feel the same way. And I think we have a responsibility to ensure our students have an understanding of what their rights are within our schools. And I have been told that there are families, you know, living in fear and don't have a true understanding of that. So thank you for bringing that forward in your comments, Alicia. And I would like to see us figure out a way to make sure we're getting that information out there to our families. And also, I guess echoing mindset. I think mindset matters. I appreciate you bringing that up, Craig, because it actually helps get through some of these tough conversations and decisions, and so I just really appreciate that. Also, I just want to say that this process has not been easy, and that like my colleagues have said, we acknowledge that this is going to have impacts on folks and in our staff, but I do think that we have an opportunity to make a shift in Marysville that we haven't and change people's mindsets about Marysville, really, because I think we can do it, and I feel like we owe that to our students, and just looking forward to that. So I guess sharing a Lachute seed word with you. It's more of a phrase, and it's something that Harriet Shelton Dober, she is a revered elder. Her father was Chief William Shelton. He was the last chief of like the Tulalipes before Indian Reorganization Act. And she used the words us Hegwood Chud as a phrase. And it really just means I show respect. And in Lachute Seed, it has the phrase us it's a prefix in front of Hegwood, and us is like a state of being, a state of having. And I just keep thinking about that. And I want people to know that as a person, I really value that phrase, and that this work was done with that and embodying that. So that's my comments.
Thank you very much. There's not much else I can say on that front that hasn't already been said, but what I will say is, I remember when Dr. Burgess stepped in this room for the first time, and there was a sense of a newfound sense of trust. Maybe not in the district as a whole just yet, but definitely in Dr. Burgess as an interim superintendent. It was a sense of trust that he would be the one that would steer our district in a direction that leads towards success. And I know personally, I still feel that sense of trust in myself for this process, and I would hope that the community would as well. I know that this process, the outcome of what we did tonight was very general, and more of the in-depth stuff is going to come from Dr. Burgess and his team. And while I agree that we need to keep a watchful eye always, and that's our role as the board, I say that also with a sense of trust in you and your team to get it done appropriately with our community in mind, with our finances in mind, and most importantly, with our students in mind. And I hope that that sentiment is equally shared throughout the community. I do appreciate everybody who stayed in attendance tonight. And I was reminded by somebody who cares about this community and our students very much that I forget after every school board meeting, I appreciate those of you in attendance here. But I never mention those who stick with us on Zoom, and even when their life is crazy, they still take the time to sign on Zoom and utilize that resource. And I appreciate you too, who are signed on Zoom. And not only that, I guess I'll go a step further. Those who decide to watch later, so that they can really, I guess, be informed about the happenings of the district, even when their life is crazy. I appreciate everybody who is engaged in this process: board members, staff members, community members, and students who come as well. With that said, we're going to adjourn this meeting. And again, our follow-on work study and regular session meeting is going to be held on February 3rd. Thank you very much. It is 9:03. We are adjourned.
Recording